Hi, we're going to talk to you about our Roundhouse project. It's something we've been thinking about for about a year or so, and we've thought about where we might build the roundhouse. Now, we've had three possibilities. We've got three fields here. We've got this field, which we refer to as the camping field or the good field, because the grass is good. We've got a field over there in the distance, just on the other side of that hedge, which we refer to as the hill field, but we actually thought that was going to be a little bit too exposed. So we've chosen another field, which is the scruffy field, the field where all the nettles are. And so we're going to go and show you now where that field is, and show you how we're going to decide where to put it. This is the field in question. We're going to go and have a look at this now. So all we need to do really is decide whereabouts we're going to put the roundhouse. So come and have a look with me and we'll choose a spot. So this is the first of the two possibilities. We can either put the thing there, where that little wooden structure is. Now that little wooden structure is where the two pigs Diddy and Lulu used to live. Sadly Diddy and Lulu are no longer with us, they've gone to the great sausage factory in the sky. So we could put it there. The disadvantage of that is that it's actually quite close to some of those trees. But we could move it out slightly. The advantage of it is it's quite flat and relatively nettle free. The second potential place, which is very close, is actually just here, a bit further in front. Again, it's reasonably flat, a little bit away from the trees, so that's a possibility. And the third possibility is over in the far corner there, between the hedge and that tree on the right hand side. The slight disadvantage with that site is that it does have a slope on it, and it's also very close to, you can't really see it, but there's quite a thicket of blackthorns there, and it's very close to there. So my guess is, we haven't taken the final decision on this yet, but my guess is that it's probably going to be just about here. Okay, so this is our first bit of raw materials. These we cut down in a local forest with the permission of the landowner, I have to say, a couple of weeks ago. These are actually pieces of hemlock, which were considered to be an invasive species up at the forest. They were glad to get rid of them, we were glad for the wood. I don't know how many pieces of this we've got, they're all about the same size.
About 100.
Which is to say probably about 10 or 12 foot. Hopefully these will be the roof spars, and what we intend to do is to turn them round so we've got one thin end and one thick end, to tie them together. If I can manage to get this up far enough, to tie them together so we've actually got a fairly stable piece of wood, and they hopefully will be the roof spars along like that. Okay, so as well as the pieces of hemlock we've got there, we've also got these two things which are absolutely fantastic. Two fairly short telegraph poles. They weren't telephone poles, they're actually poles carrying electricity. Those two that have been replaced over there. I spoke very nicely to the guys who were chopping the old ones down, and they left these behind. Now, one is longer than the other. This one I would estimate is about probably about 10 feet. That one is probably nearer 12. Exactly how we're going to use these, I don't yet know. But hopefully we'll be able to use them in some way, because they're good pieces of wood. So we'll show you that, how we're going to use those a bit later on in the plan. I just wanted to spend just a minute talking about the plans for the roundhouse and how the thing's going to be built and how we're going to decide that. I think the first thing to say is that what this is going to be is a modern interpretation of a roundhouse. Now, I know that everyone says that, because one of the things we don't know, of course, is exactly how a roundhouse was built. We've got evidence of the post holes in the ground, we know roughly how big they were, and I think it's generally accepted that what they were built out of was what was locally available. So in different parts of the country, the walls were built out of different things depending on what was found locally. So we're not exactly sure how we're going to build the walls yet. Obviously there are going to be upright posts. They may be wattle and daub, or we may use cords of wood stacked end to end and build those up. In terms of the floor inside, it's going to be a pounded earth floor. One of the most difficult decisions is going to be the roof. What are we going to make the roof out of? Now, we've been to see a number of roundhouses around Wales, mostly in North Wales, but also in South Wales. And the roofs are made out of different materials. We know of a couple only a few miles away towards Wrexham where the roofs are thatched. Now, one of the difficulties for us with that is that thatch is expensive. It does require a degree of skill. I'm not a thatcher. I would have a go, but I'm not a thatcher. And there's always, of course, with thatch the danger of fire. Now, we do want to have a fire in the roundhouse, so that complicates it slightly. We could go down a relatively modern route and do the roof with plywood and maybe felt, and then grow some moss on the top. We don't really know, but hopefully as we go along you'll see that discussion taking place. We'll get the central structure up, we'll get the posts in place, we'll make a start on the walls, and then we will think about what we're going to do with the roof. So at the moment we don't know, but as is always the best with these sorts of things, we'll make it up as we go along. Cheers.